Hey everybody, it is day 5 of the last phrases of Jesus, and I pray that you are having a wonderful Holy Week, that God is ministering to you, that God is speaking to you, that the shalom of God is all over you and your home. And we're going to read the 5th phrase that Jesus spoke on the cross. And this one is the one I think is really forgotten. It's one that we don't really talk about, we don't really preach about too much, and yet Jesus said it specifically for a purpose and for a reason, to bring us peace and to bring us shalom and to let us know what he did for us on that cross. And it's in John chapter 19 and verse 28. And it says this, after this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished and that the scripture might be fulfilled, he said, I thirst. And now a vessel full of sour wine was sitting there. And they filled the sponge with it, the Roman soldiers, sponge with sour wine, and put it on a hyssop, and put it to his mouth. And then when Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, it is finished. And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. But the phrase that I want to focus on is when Jesus said, I thirst. And it comes right before this passage that I think is so powerful, when it says, written by John, who was at the cross, so he knows exactly what Jesus said. He was the only disciple that was there. And he says, after this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled. Isn't that amazing that Jesus did everything that he was called to do? There wasn't one I that wasn't dotted, not one T that wasn't crossed. Jesus fulfilled everything that he was purposed to fulfill in his 33 years of existence. And man, I don't know about you, but I pray that I could get that level of accomplishment. Like, that is my goal. Like, I pray that I could get to heaven, and I know I'm not going to be able to fulfill everything like Jesus did, but I want to be who God created me to be, and purpose and do the purpose that God has put inside of my heart. And that is what Jesus was able to do. And it finished with this last phrase when he said, I thirst. And he was actually fulfilling an Old Testament prophecy from Psalms chapter 68 that was prophetic, that was something David spoke about, that Jesus would utter from the cross. And now he is fulfilling everything that the Father called him and asked him to fulfill. And it's interesting that he said, I thirst, because it's kind of contradictory to what Jesus spoke earlier in the Gospel of John when he met this woman at the well. And this topic of thirst was a key topic that Jesus spoke about with this woman, because thirst is something we can all relate with. We're all thirsty. I don't know if you ever worked out, but immediately you get thirsty when you're finished. I need water. I need something to drink because I'm exasperated. I'm thirsty. And there was this woman in John chapter 4 that was thirsty. She came to a well, and Jesus meets her at this well, and she comes at the hottest time of the day. She comes at noon, and she was a woman who certainly had a hole in her soul. Jesus discovers that she had been married 5 times, and now she's living with number 6. So obviously there's some sort of void in her heart that she's trying to fill with a relationship with another man, and she's thirsty spiritually. I know that that's a term that the kids use. Man, that person is thirsty. I don't really know what it means, but it's something that the kids use. And I think that this woman was probably a thirsty woman in the wrong way. And then Jesus sees her. But this is what Jesus says. Jesus says, I could give you living water so that you will never thirst again. And that is something that only Jesus is able to give us. He's able to give us living water so that our spirits will never thirst again, so that our identities will never thirst again, so that we will never need anything outside of what God has already put inside of our heart. And this woman at the well had no idea about this, and she says, where do I get this water? Where do I find it? And Jesus says this, I am he. You don't have to wait any longer or look any further. And so that's the word that I pray that you could focus on this Holy Week. Is all those areas that you feel unfulfilled, or you feel thirsty, you feel like validate you and you need more of. I want you to know it only comes through Christ. What Christ did for you on the cross is able to quench your thirst better than any Gatorade, better than any relationship, better than any amount of money that you could earn at a career or a job. There is a thirst quencher in a relationship with Jesus that we all need to be able to receive this Holy Week because of what he did for us on that cross. So I could actually say, I'll never thirst again. because I found my source, my living water in Jesus Christ. And I pray that you can find that same source. So that's the word for this morning, and I pray that you can meditate on it. But more importantly, I pray that you will find that living water. God bless you.